Welcome to the I Am You podcast. I am your host, Dr. Nitza Alvarez, a board-certified cardiologist and best-selling author. My hope with this podcast is to share stories so women can speak up and become the CEO of their own health. I am a cardiologist. I am a wife. I am a mother. My story is your story. I am you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am You podcast. Today, I am here with Jeanie. Jeanie, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
I love that you said that you're happy, because so many times I know that we are a little anxious about coming here to have conversations. We're going to be talking about health, and more important for the women that are listening to us, we are all very grateful for women like you that are willing to come and sit here to share stories that are related to our cardiac health, to help other women understand how are we different, how the system sees us different, and how do we need to advocate for ourselves. So when we decide to bring you in here today, one of the very interesting stories that you have is your history of stroke. And why do I mention stroke? I think that is super important that, and I know there's another podcast that we recorded on another woman that was victim of stroke. And the idea is like women start understanding that strokes, although it's a neurological problem, it's a brain infarct, the heart many times can be involved in that process. In your case, start telling the women that are listening to us, the audience, when you had your stroke, how was that diagnosed and how did they find out the cause?
Well, actually, I had 3 mini strokes, and I was not even aware of it. I had gone into the hospital for a back surgery, and after that had happened, they said to me, "Did you know that you had 3 mini strokes?" I said, "No, I didn't even know it." But thinking later on how certain things had happened before, and I kind of figured, well, that's probably what happened to me. I kind of lost my balance and all of a sudden sat down, and I didn't know why. And so I just passed that on. And then when they told me that I had a hole in my heart, well, I said, for goodness sakes, I'm like 40-something, maybe 50 years old, 60 years old. I'm just finding out I have a hole in my heart. Okay, well, now what do? I need to find a doctor. I need to know what the heck I'm going to do to take care of this. Well, that's how I found you.
Okay, so when you were told that you had a stroke, you just specified that that was an incidental finding. No, you didn't seek medical attention because you were having a problem. At that point, it was a different type of problem. It was your back, and of course, we don't know until we get evaluated. If you don't do studies, so many times we don't know what are we dealing with, and they identified that there was a problem, that you had stroke. How do you go from you know you have a stroke to finding out that you have a hole in your heart?
Well, actually, I found out the same day from the hospital when I had the back surgery. He had all of this information, so that wasn't bad enough. I had 3 mini strokes, I have a hole in my heart, and I got a tumor in my head. Well, I said, I came in here for a back surgery. And now I have all this added information. So what do? You try to take care of one thing at a time. And so when I did find out the best doctor that I could find, because someone told me she was a great doctor to go to, I went. And you know what? They were right.
Okay, excellent. So, and thank you for that. I want to move the audience through the journey. You know, you mentioned it's hard to be diagnosed with so many problems at a time. Yes, sometimes it's overwhelming. Many times that's the reason why people don't want to get checked, because they're afraid of what they're going to find. But if we don't know what we're dealing with, how can we take care of it? No. So in your case, you could have said, really, people, now you're finding all these problems, but instead you said, okay, you found all these things, and now I have to take care of, and then I'm going to just take care of one thing at a time. So for the audience, I want to go back to the stroke, because that's actually how, once you find out that you have a hole in your heart, is why you are with me. No, stroke is an infarct of the brain, but it's normally because there is something that is occluding the flow in the small vessels of the arteries that go to the brain, and it can be plaque that get dislodged and go, or it can be clots that are forming, that are traveling, and clots circulating in your body. They can go anywhere. They can go to your pinky finger. They can go to your leg. They can go to your ear. They can go anywhere. But if they go to your brain, they will cause an infarct or a mini stroke or a TIA. No, stroke and mini stroke, same basket. For the sake of the conversation today, we're just gonna call it a stroke. And the heart plays a role in the mechanism of clot formation, either atrial fibrillation, arrhythmias, or congenital problems. In your case, you mentioned I was already in my 50s and 60s, and now is when I'm finding out that I have a hole in my heart. And a hole in the heart, you're born with it, yes? And 10 to 12% of the population have that hole in the heart, and it's benign, nothing happens. But if you show up with an evidence that there was occlusion to the blood flow in the brain, stroke or a mini stroke, then if that hole in there, we need to do something about it. And normally the therapy is medication first to thin your blood. That's how you end up in the blood thinner, yeah? To thin your blood. And she's looking at her arm like, yes, this is the evidence. And although also sometimes we have to go and close the hole. But knowing that the hole is there help us understand what the potential mechanism for your stroke is and address it. So the important is to know that having a stroke and not knowing what causes stroke is not an option. So if anybody from the audience had ever experienced one of those transient episodes where it feels that they're having a stroke, a mini stroke, or a stroke, and they still don't know what causes it, then knowing if they have a hole in the heart is important. Seeing a cardiologist to try to understand the mechanism of their stroke is important. And also, if they know somebody that had a stroke and they still don't know what caused it, or they probably told them high blood pressure, your cholesterol is high, and we're like, are you sure? Was the proper evaluation done? In your case, it was, and we found out that it was that hole in your heart. So how do you feel knowing that you had that hole that is open in your heart?
Well, honestly, I don't know how I feel. I feel it's there.
Did you think about it?
No, I don't think about it at all. I know I'm in good hands with Dr. Alvarez, and I feel that if it was serious enough for me to worry about, guess what? I'll worry. But right now, I'm doing fine. I'm 84 years old and still kicking.
Yes. And I asked the question, that you worry about it? Because, of course, you were born with it. And then it's like, well, I didn't worry for 60 years.
Right.
So I'm hoping that you're not worrying now, particularly when we are doing what we need to do. And I think that that's actually more important is once I know what I have, once I know what to do, then I'm doing it. And then I just live my life, you know. Many times we hear our patients telling us, should I worry? And my answer is, what are you going to worry for? Like, worrying doesn't solve anything.
Right.
It's just know and act. The rest, you leave it up to us. No? So the day that you see me worrying, then we said, okay, what are we going to do? But it's more about taking action. Once you know that you're doing the right thing, then let God, your body, and your provider manage and go through the journey. Mm-hmm. That will be much easier. Now, we have a lot of women that are listening to us today, and they have been told by another doctor that something didn't look right in their testing, and they never pursue a future evaluation. So many of us think that, oh, I went to the doctor and now they're finding all these problems, and like we're making them up. How would you like for them to think if they were to go through the same journey that you did and find out that there's more problems than what you think at certain point. What advice do you have for them to navigate this?
Well, I think that once you find out what problems you do have and you go to the proper channels, well, you know what? I think then you should just leave it in the proper channel people and let them take care of you. So far, thank you, Lord. I'm doing very well, putting my hands in somebody else's, putting my life in somebody else's hands, and they're good hands. I feel good. I honestly don't even think about the hole in my heart. I don't think about the strokes that I had. I don't think about the tumor in my head. I do what I got to do and live my life one day at a time and let somebody else worry about it.
She doesn't worry elsewhere, which I love it. And what do you love the most about your life? You said you're 84, you look amazing. You know, you are very vibrant, good attitude, humor.
Yeah.
What do you like the most about your life?
I like my life because, you know what? I'm finding out more things. They say old people don't learn things, but you know what? They're wrong because I learn something almost every single day. I work, I volunteer, I'm around people, and I love them. And you know what? That's what people should do.
And I think that also it brings up the important topic of aging. Age is a number. No, we have a chronological age. We have a number that was given based on the year that we were born. But it's also an attitude, and it's also how have you had been taking care of the body. You know, in your case, we know clearly that I love this phrase that says, the time that you don't invest in health today is time that you're going to need to invest in illness later. So you got to choose. It's going to be time invested in health today or time and illness later. So when we have the pleasure and the privilege of being in front of a woman like you at her 84, active, doing her things, volunteering, feel good, joking around, still looking forward to the next 16 years of her life, then it should be a motivation for so many women that are listening to us and said, okay, listen, for you to be here today, you have to have invested in health many years ago to now not have to worry about illness. So let's invite the women that are listening to us today. Let's invest in health, be your own advocate, make sure that when the doctors tell you there is something wrong, that you follow through and that you get somebody in your journey that is going to help you feel comfortable. So that way you don't have to worry and then you put the burden of the worry in somebody else.
Yeah, let them worry about it. I'm still hopping, girl. I'm going to a drag show tonight.
You are? That is amazing. You see, my goal, 84, that's my goal. Okay, I thank you so much for being here today and sharing your humor with us.
I love it.
I love you.
I love you too, darling.
And this takes us to an end of another episode of I Am You. Thank you for joining us. I hope this episode has empowered you to be the CEO of your own health. Tune into our next episode and don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at NITZAMD. To explore more on this and related topics, visit our website, NITZAMD.com. If this episode resonated with you, please like and subscribe. And one more thing, share with the wonderful woman in your life.